Yo, what is popping, people? Your boy Snacks is back in the building with another banger. And you know how we do. Before we get started, we like to shout out you, the viewer, the people who take the time out to watch this video. But while you're here, please do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Because we still working our way to 20K. And y'all know how we get down. Before every video, we shout out the CU aunties because they always show up and show out. You know what I'm saying? But in this time, we got to talk about this craziness because we shouldn't do us another breakdown video. And this one, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And one thing about this video, we're missing one person. G. Bush needed to be a part of this right here. So it could have been some corrections. But your boy, you know I got you covered. Y'all know how we do these breakdowns. We take them apart and we put them back together. Let's get it. But we got a breakdown of a video from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show with a Yahoo sports reporter, a writer by the name of Jori Epstein. I don't know if you guys have seen this video, but we gonna get into it because Jori Epstein done violated, and we really need to talk about it. Y'all ready to jump into it? I know I am. Let's go.
First, say goodbye to sticky notes, scribbled plans on the fridge, and overlapping calendar invites. The Skylight calendar is here to bring clarity to the chaos and help families stay organized without the stress. The sleek digital display synced with your existing calendars, Google, Apple, Outlook, and more, making it simple to track appointments, practices, dinners, and reminders all in one easy-to-see place. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners, and she writes for Yahoo. She was in Berea covering Browns minicamp the last couple of days, and Bull, she did laugh at your idea that was a ridiculous play to celebrate in minicamp. Heads up.
Because she knows I'm right.
Egg, grocery, and gas prices are going up. But
oh no. What we not gonna do is do that. We are definitely not doing that. Let's get back.
Players do whatever the hell they want.
Can't even enjoy your craft no more.
I mean, it's practice, Jory. Are you okay with celebrations from practice? You believe in that?
It's so funny. The first 7 years of my career, I was in Dallas, and Jason Witten was very much like, act like you've been here before. I also think you have a little bit of like DBs in secondary, like they're going to have swag. Receivers probably are too. So should they do it? Like, I'm not impressed, but I also think that like that's kind of how that group works.
If you make a big play in a game, I get it.
Next time I write a story on Deshaun,
yeah,
I'm going to do the people's elbow.
That's it. That's it. All right, Jory, we were talking. I don't know how long you've been waiting, but we were talking about we're kind of not understanding why Shedeur Sanders is getting no opportunities with the first team at all. Kevin Stefanski keeps downplaying it as if it means nothing, but he doesn't really answer the question. Do you think it means something? And are you surprised that he's not getting opportunities?
Yeah, I think let's start with who is getting opportunities. So first of all, Joe Flacco, as we know, veteran, he got very few snaps this week and made sure to let us know that yesterday when he was talking. He's like, I'm not getting a million snaps. It's kind of hard to get into a rhythm. But the reason that Joe Flacco is not getting a million snaps is because Joe Flacco, they know what he can do. They know that he knows how to run an operation. They know that he understands cadence. And quite frankly, he understands Kevin Stefanski's offense because of his time with the team in 2023. So when you say, okay, Kenny Pickett's getting some because even though he's a veteran and understands generally how to play at the pro level, he's not familiar with this particular offense. He hasn't spent a ton of time under center. Let's get him up to it. But the guys who need the most work right now are the rookies, and that's not a knock on them. That's because they don't have pro experience. And then I would even say that Dillion, Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders arrive at the NFL with pretty different levels of foundations, not because of this is not about where they can go. This is about where they can come from. And where they came from is Dillion Gabriel played for 3 schools, all sorts of offenses. it really had a much wider range of foundation, in my opinion, in terms of the offenses he was exposed to. And so I think he is a little bit ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And I think that's reflected in who's getting these snaps. So I would say, to answer your question, now that we have that context, the reason Shedeur Sanders is not getting first team reps is because it's going to take a little bit of time before operationally and from a cadence standpoint and from a playbook standpoint, he is ready to excel then. And they're not trying to put him in a situation where it's just like obvious how unready he is for that.
Okay, we're gonna stop it right there because apparently somebody don't know what they talking about. Oh my God. Why? But everybody has their opinion and everybody has their own thought. So we're not gonna say she's wrong because in actuality, we don't know. But what I can tell you is, I promise you, Shedeur Sanders has had reps with the ones. What did I tell you? What have I been saying? Shedeur Sanders has had reps with the ones. They just weren't seen by the media. Reason they weren't seen by the media, because once you take the genie out the bottle, you can't put it back. Once everybody sees that Shedeur is that good and he is with the ones, mind you, when he was with the 3s and 4s, there were 1s and 2s sprinkled amongst those. Every time you hear them say Dillion Gabriel took reps with the ones, it wasn't just one offense and one defense completely, all of those. No, there were 3s and 4s and people sprinkled about. And the numbers of reps that Dillion Gabriel took with the ones weren't really a lot. Just like on Thursday, not yesterday, on Wednesday, he took reps with the ones, but they were only 3 reps. Tuesday, he took reps with the ones, it was only 4 reps. He's not getting that abundant amount of reps with the ones that Shedeur is not getting. Reason Shedeur is not getting reps publicly with the ones because they don't want you to see it right now. You will see it in training camp. That's when you know who's who. When you see Shedeur getting reps with the ones and Dillion Gabriel over there with Kenny Pickett, they over there warming up with them others. Because Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders is so far ahead of Kenny Pickett and Dillion Gabriel, it's ridiculous. Her saying that Shedeur doesn't understand the playbook, doesn't understand how to hike the ball from under center is ridiculous. They say that because they saw Shedeur Sanders slip on one play, which was the first play. But mind you, they don't tell you about the fumbles that Dillion Gabriel has had trying to get the ball from under center. The blown plays that Dillion Gabriel has had, nobody's harping on that because they want you to think that Dillion Gabriel is ahead of Shedeur, which he is not. The numbers tell you that he's not. And I don't want to hear he is with the 3s and the 4s or the 2s and Dillion Gabriel is with the 1s. Because when Dillion Gabriel goes to the 3s and the 4s, his numbers are still worse than Shedeur's. See, now we're on equal playing field. This is not college, even though Shedeur was better than Dillion Gabriel in college. This is not college, where it's kind of hard to compare. Dillion Gabriel only had 1 receiver drafted. Shedeur had 3. And a 4th that was undrafted because he flunked his doggone physical is in training camp with the Denver Broncos. Colorado had all of their receivers drafted into the NFL. The only college that had all of their receivers drafted into the NFL. This lady doesn't know what she's talking about. Shedeur Sanders is far and above a better quarterback than Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. That's why him and Joe Flacco have taken less snaps. Let's look at the numbers. You see the numbers? Flacco, 35 snaps. These two, Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett, have taken the most snaps of everybody because they need the reps. The other two quarterbacks, Flacco, Sanders, are so far ahead of everybody else. You see that? OTAs and minicamp combined stats, Dillon Gabriel with 0 interceptions, when we know that's a lie, when we know they've charted at least 3 interceptions for Dillon Gabriel. Want me to pull him up? See, this is what I'm saying. They use these to try to make Dillon Gabriel look better, but you can't when it's right there in your face. When it's right there in your face. When you try to make one man look better than the other, and you're the only reason we're tracking stats right now, there's Dillon Gabriel's first interception right there. That's one. But you go back on the all-in chart, there's 0. But you make sure you put Shedeur's 1 interception up there. See what I'm talking about? Y'all ain't right. Y'all ain't right. You got to do better. You can't try to change the narrative and change the facts when we've seen it already. When we've seen it already. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. But let's get back to the stupidity. I know that's what we want to do. We want to get back to the stupidity. Let's go.
Jori, when do you expect, that we can start looking into the depth chart? When should, as a fan, should we be like, all right, we see this guy is now getting first team reps? At what point? Is it training camp? Is it preseason? Is it joint practice? What do you think?
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like
we're not trying to do that, dog.
I met with Cleveland general manager Andrew Berry yesterday. I'll have a story up later today on Yahoo. And among the things he said to me was, look, some teams say 70% of the snaps go to your starter in training camp. And he's like, but why does it have to be that way? That's not the only way to structure a practice. Obviously, we know they've been doing 2-spot. They've been making sure to get everyone in OTAs and mini camps all sorts of reps. But I think even in training camp, there will be an element of that, of they are trying to prepare for week 1, prepare for the 2025 season, and also evaluate so that you know by 2026 what you have in the quarterback room. So I think, to me, this is a 2-tiered quarterback battle. We can call it a 4-way quarterback battle, and I understand the competitive juices they're trying to spark by doing that. I would be shocked if either of the rookies started week 1, and I think that's a good thing. I think that for the rookies, they should be glad that the organization is not trotting them out immediately, because Kevin Stefanski just requires a very high level of pro understanding to run his offense with the timing and operational mastery necessary. So, I mean, from a depth chart standpoint, I would say really the question is Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett going to start week 1? And then is Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur going to show you that in the middle of the season, there's a chance that they should come in?
So is Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco going to start week 1?
I think Joe Flacco. I think Kevin Stefanski is going to feel more comfortable with him. And I think that Kenny Pickett would really have to ball out. It's not a knock on Kenny Pickett, but again, he's starting behind. And I think if Joe is healthy, the goal is just to be able to allow everyone else to lead around him. And I think Joe is going to give people a higher opportunity. I also think that when you consider Andrew Berry's history of using resources in a really wise way, he kind of came up in that Howie Roseman mentality that Philadelphia is very aggressive with how they use their resources. probably the best thing Kenny Pickett can do for the Browns is get an asset back. And that's not, again, not a knock on him, but one of the reasons you stack a quarterback room like this is so that you have assets for yourself and assets to give to other people. And I think that if Joe is able to do what he needs to do, Kenny is probably more valuable to the Browns as a trade-off.
No, one of the reasons you stack a quarterback room like this is because you didn't have a quarterback. 0 on the roster. Kenny Pickett was brought in, traded a 3rd-round pick for Kenny Pickett, which will turn out to be useless. Joe Flacco re-signed, and then you drafted 2 quarterbacks, which you wasted another 3rd-round pick on Dillion Gabriel. But it might be worth it because you will get to keep him. I would keep both rookies, regardless of who is 2nd and who is 3rd. But Kenny Pickett is the odd man out. Kenny Pickett is struggling mightily with learning this offense. Let's take a look. Just to show you, Kenny Pickett is struggling mightily with learning this offense. Where's my stat? There's my stat. Kenny Pickett is 38 for 63. Dillion Gabriel is 48 for 83. You see these 2 at the top? That's why they're at the top. They've had less reps, not because they need them. They don't need these reps. These 2, Sanders and Flacco, understand this offense. Shedeur ran a version of this offense in college. Joe Flacco ran this offense 2 years ago. Well, not 2 years ago, 2021, a couple of years ago, But they are familiar. Dillion Gabriel and Kenny Pickett, this is unknown territory. That's why they're getting all the reps. And for people who don't understand ball, let me help you understand how this thing works. In training, in OTAs, it's a learning experience. And in quarterbacks, in offensive scenarios, you are put in different scenarios, sometimes just to see if you can get the play, sometimes to see if you make the right decision, sometimes to see if you can score the touchdown. The offense and the defensive coordinators are working together to see if you can figure it out. You understand me? And sometimes defense knows what play you're going to run and where you are supposed to go with the ball. And in those scenarios, Shedeur has always come out on top because his completion percentage has always been better than Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. He's always completed more of the passes. He's always taken advantage of the opportunities that has been put before him. It's what you don't understand. So if you understand ball and you understand how these practices work, I hear a lot of people saying practices don't matter. Yes, they do. Why do you think they do it? If it didn't matter, nobody would show up. If it didn't count, they wouldn't do it. They would just show up and play the game. But practices matter. OTAs matter. Mini camps matter. Training camps matter. You can't say they don't, or it wouldn't happen. So people trying to downplay how good Shedeur is in these OTAs and this mini camp have really lost it. But it don't count for Shedeur, but it counts for Dillion Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. Is really what they saying. Shedeur is doing better than him, so his don't count because he's just going against the 3s and the 4s. Mind you, Dillion Gabriel and Kenny Pickett are going against the same people. It matters. Because, yes, Dillion Gabriel might get 3-4 plays with the 1s, but the rest of his offense is over there with the 3s and the 4s. And if you suck over there, What you think gonna happen with the one? That's why they keep trying to give him chances, because he was the 3rd round pick. There's politics in football, and they're trying to respect the politics without making themselves look like idiots, because they're trying to save face. Because we picked Dillion Gabriel in the 3rd round, and our owner come out the box and said, "Hey, you see all that money sitting over there, still right there in the draft? Shedeur, that's the money. Go get him. I don't care what you got to do, what you got to give away. How many picks you go get me that, because that's money, and he can ball." So that's where we at. But you know, I'm just a guy. I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill. You know, like that. Let's go.
That's it.
Unfortunately,
For me, absolutely, we can have 4 quarterbacks. He's not saying that, but that's what I'm saying.
you're right, probably. Unfortunately for Browns fans, while Howie Roseman gets every draft pick right, Andrew Berry gets every draft pick wrong, pretty much, with very few exceptions. Hopefully he's turned it around this year. Forget the quarterbacks. They've drafted 4 guys high that need to make immediate impact. Obviously, a defensive tackle, running back, tight end, and linebacker. I'm guessing you can't tell anything about those positions in a mini camp, but are you expecting their top 4 picks to make an impact immediately? Or am I being unfair expecting that?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was standing next to Andrew Siciliano at one point during practice, and he kind of points to the left and to where Mason Graham is, and he goes, "You never know it based off what we're all looking at, but the 5th overall pick of the 2025 NFL draft is working out right there." I actually think this is great for Mason Graham, that he'll be able to fly a little bit under the radar right now. I mean, it's funny. I did a pre-draft feature on Cam Ward, the Tennessee Titans' 1st overall pick at quarterback, and Cam's family told me, like, they're like, "We love that Shedeur's getting all of the attention, so Cam can kind of just do his thing. Like, he doesn't want that attention." And I think Mason Graham is getting that too. I would say that you can't tell much about offensive and defensive linemen in the spring. This is about them kind of getting up to speed and understanding what the responsibilities there are. But with the offseason restrictions imposed by the NFLPA, you can't tell much about them. And even running backs and linebackers too, I would say. So
yeah.
The question is more like, are they going to be ready for training camp? But you shouldn't be making any sweeping assumptions on those guys in June.
Training camps, like OTAs and mini camps, are for more skilled players, new skilled players, and quarterback. And it's mainly for all of the new players, just to learn the playbook, get the style in, meet everybody, and get acclimated to your new surroundings. But ESPN Cleveland has turned this into a real contest, because they were lying about the numbers, and G. Bush had to call them out, and then they put out the real numbers. Now everybody's like, "Wow, that Shedeur is really, really good." And then they started hearing him in the interviews, and all of a sudden, all those rumors are being dispelled, and people are like, "Really? Somebody lying somewhere," But anyway, we're not gonna get into that. Let's go. No.
Jori, I want to ask you about the left tackle situation, because it's something that we've all been enamored with, the quarterback and the defense and all of those things. But the left tackle position is something that's very important, as you know, for NFL's team success. And DeJuan Jones, obviously, he's coming back from injury. This will be his first full year starting as the left tackle.
Tight ends and left.
All right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just
the left tackle is what we're not gonna do. You know what I'm talking about? We're gonna skip that part and we're gonna move on to the rest of this bull crap she finna say. Then we're gonna end this thing and get out of here and do what we do.
Reporter who only writes about quarterbacks, but you got to write primarily about quarterbacks.
You got to write primarily about quarterbacks, so let's just keep talking about the quarterbacks. I'm going to ask you a question you cannot possibly answer, but I love these. Who cares? When we get to the end of the season, who will have started the most games at quarterback for the Browns this year?
Ooh, that's a great question. I kind of want a wild card go Dylan Gabriel.
Oh.
Like, I'll say Joe Flacco starts 7 games and Dylan Gabriel starts 9 games, and then like someone else starts 1 game because the NFL is brutal and you never know.
This is the question that really made me want to do this video. I could have done it with just this question, but it wouldn't have been fair because you needed the context of everything else.
Know what's going to happen from an injury standpoint. Not that I wish injury on anyone, but that would be my prediction.
That will be it. We will have a miserable fan base if that is the case.
So you're on record. Shedeur will not start more than 1 game this year.
I don't think he will.
Yeah.
And again, I think if you're Shedeur, that's not a bad thing. And he even told us this week, he's like, I have time. Like he said, I got time. And he knows that. And I think that when you look at how often teams fail quarterbacks around the league, the biggest reason is because they rush them out there too quickly. And so I think that it will not be a bad thing for Shedeur, nor will it be an indictment on him if he doesn't start this year. It will just mean that the Browns are actually committed to developing him.
If you're right, if Joe starts 7, Dillion starts 9, they're taking another quarterback at the top of the draft next year. Yes or no?
Bruh, this lady just said that Shedeur Sanders is going to start 1 game this season. 1. Dylan Gabriel is going to start 9. Flacco is going to start 7. I'll tell you what. If Dylan Gabriel doesn't start a game before Shedeur plays his first game, Dylan Gabriel will never see the field. Just that simple. If Dylan Gabriel doesn't get a game in before Shedeur Sanders starts a game, Dylan Gabriel will never see the field. Period. At all. Bank that. Book that. Count that. In what aspect of these OTAs and minicamp has Dylan Gabriel looked better than Shedeur? Has Kenny Pickett looked better than Shedeur? Hell, Flacco most of the time hasn't looked better than Shedeur. Do y'all understand what Shedeur Sanders is as a quarterback? Most people don't. And that's the problem because they're too busy worried about his last name and his father. That is the biggest problem ever. You're too busy worried about that Sanders, not that Sanders quarterback. That's your problem. His numbers are better. And now that we're on this break, let me tell you something. I'm going to drop you a nugget right here. Then I'm going to get off. Now that we're on this break, and we got a couple of weeks, like 4, Shedeur is going to be working out. And when you see that video drop, when he's working out with Cleveland's starting receivers, understand that it's a wrap for Dylan Gabriel. Understand that. But see, because what they don't understand, Shedeur doesn't need all-star receivers to make receivers great because he makes players better. He had 1 superstar receiver in Colorado, 1 superstar receiver in Jackson State. And he was the number 2 pick in the draft. Heisman with him, Travis Hunter. But all of his receivers got drafted. So what does that tell you? Oregon had 10 players drafted to the NFL. 1 receiver. No, that was a tight end. It wasn't even a receiver. Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback. He does a whole lot more with a whole lot less. He shows it when he plays with the 3s and the 4s. He shows it when he plays with the 2s. And they've seen it when he plays with the ones. That is why Shedeur Sanders will be your QB2 starting the season. And once they get tired of Flacco, if Dillion Gabriel doesn't play one game, he will never touch the football field. But anyway, man, that's my take on that. I'm getting out of here. Y'all have a great day. Do not forget to do what we do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We know we going to beat the comment section up. We be having a party down in the comment section. See you aunties all over the place. I don't even know. I need to do something with all this face hair and head hair, but I've been on the road. And then I come home and do these videos. Hey, brother got to get it. But I might take some time out today and get my grooming on. But I ain't trying to impress nobody, and I ain't going nowhere. I'm in that truck. Don't nobody see me until I get out and fuel up and get me a snack. I don't have to deal with people. But anyway, man, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all have a good day. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Click on one of these videos above your head somewhere and enjoy some more of me. Anyway, man, we out of here. Peace.